Introduction to the Knowledge of Self. Lesson 2. July 4, 2023. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. If you've made it up to this point, this means that you have the courage to get to the bottom of knowing yourself. At the last lecture, I asked the question, what would be the secret to inner fulfillment? But then, again, what should inner fulfillment be? Do I mean being in a state of continuous peace and joy despite adverse life circumstances? Some may argue that this state of being does not exist. In this case, it will be my duty to guide you through a process of becoming aware of forces responsible for dictating how we experience life. Although this material sounds very complicated, due to your receptivity and interest, clear understanding will gradually take place. So, don't worry. Just be patient. As I said before, many of you would eagerly consider perfect health, better relationships, a great living environment, and good economic conditions as prerequisites for life's peace and joy. I don't disagree that these essential factors will help improve your quality of life. I also believe that many people have acquired some or all of these blessings. Most of us either accept our overall situation or try to acquire the things we believe will make us complete or better. Based on how we've been taught about becoming successful and what success is, we will go through it by proper channels to become successful. For instance, getting your own business, going to college, exercising, eating healthy, getting a good job, etc. Others will resort to illegal or unethical means. Of course, I will never condone illegal or unethical conduct, but I do support those who do their best to improve their quality of life. Even though we are working toward achieving whatever goal we intend to reach or will reach, life's harsh reality makes the acquisition of our objective harder to accomplish. Now, the question is, does life's harsh reality really have anything to do with maintaining ourselves well-disposed as we work towards acquiring a certain goal? Another question can be, what is life's harsh reality? Today's discussion will begin with the latter question. Having to work overtime to complete bill payments, for example, can be considered life's harsh reality. Having to study day and night to pass a class can be considered a part of life's harsh reality. Having to work with unpleasant individuals can also be considered life's harsh reality. Maybe the weather being too cold or too hot is part of life's harsh reality. We can say that we are surrounded by life's harsh reality. A very important question can be, is there a way to make life's harsh reality less harsh? This can be translated as, can life experiences have a less severe impact on us? This could also be translated as, is our emotional sensitivity response to life experiences too fragile? We see other individuals who successfully go through a similar process as the rest of us, but are able to, seemingly, keep it together. Maybe their biological and psychological makeup differs from ours, or maybe the environment is better suited for them than it is for most of us. As we are naturally prone to interpret others' actions based on our individual reality and feelings, we fail to simply accept that we are just simply different. What may sound logical or rational to you is based on your experiences and understanding of what's supposed to be real. Of course, there are many who can agree with how we interpret situations. We may even say that most people we know have a similar understanding of what is supposed to be correct behavior, respectful, and moral behavior as well as immoral or incorrect behavior. Most people we know accept certain behavior deemed to be inappropriate at a certain place and time and appropriate at another place and time. The same rule is applied. Why do most people you know share the same interpretation of people's behavior or life situations as you do? Isn't it because it sounds logical, correct, and acceptable to those individuals, the same way it does to you? The tricky part concerning this similar approach to reality is that there are many other alternatives available for perceiving and approaching situations that are invisible to us. Our ability to be aware of our emotional response to situations will help us notice that most of what we think and do is automatic. This means that we live a reactionary life, automatically reacting to most situations without being aware that our behavior is learned. We perceive reality based on the definition of situations, things, feelings, etc. We learn to define situations as oppressive, harsh, depressive, humiliating, great, favorable, etc. These and many other thousands of adjectives were taught to us as a way to navigate through reality. So, these learned words shape the reality we perceive. For instance, if you have just lost your purse or wallet, to most people, adjectives such as sad, unfortunate, depressive, etc., will be used to describe the emotional impact you should feel in that situation. By interpreting that particular situation using any of those adjectives, our emotional state will accommodate itself to fit the physical attributes of that particular emotional condition. Let's consider the emotional state of sadness in a person. This condition will reflect a loss of muscle tone, a lowered or hunched posture, and looking away and or downwards, etc., for example. So, to be sad or to experience or be in any of the negative emotional states because of having lost something important is considered natural for most individuals, and the body will accommodate whatever posture is required by that emotional definition. Therefore, our behavior is based on adjectives that define certain emotional states, and our emotions control our reality. A system where the incentive for happiness depends only on external material can always be the basis for human manipulation. In other words, making people believe that happiness lies in material objects or emotional expressions can reduce people's dignity to bondage. So, depriving individuals of certain objects will drive many individuals to unethical behavior. Understanding the social system within which we've been and are being indoctrinated will reveal human abuses that plague all areas of our existence. Social protocols at a high scale, such as wearing name-brand items, having a nice place to live, having a beautiful wife or handsome husband, being able to travel the world, etc., have had such a tremendous impact on certain individuals that criminal activities such as scheming, murdering, stealing, robbing, drug distribution, etc., have become part of our daily lives. These activities are also committed by individuals who are just looking for brief moments of satisfaction, such as going to the club or the casino, having expensive materials such as jewelry, apparel, expensive perfumes, etc. The complexity of this issue lies in understanding the origin of such behavior. Can we ask ourselves, as an example, why is it necessary to live a life surrounded by luxury in order to feel satisfied? Were people born with those desires, or were those desires taught to them? I do understand that many individuals with Christian values will not lower their moral standards just for material gains. Some will be satisfied with humble living conditions. So, even though the illusion that a fulfilled life depends entirely on external acquisitions is disseminated throughout all forms of social connection, many people remain content with simplicity. Some confine themselves to that way of life because of having moral principles, others because of grave consequences that may follow. An individual with good moral principles will always benefit from a certain dignified social status as opposed to someone who does not consider morality a priority. No matter what has driven the individual to manifest their being the way they do, it all comes down to learned behavior. Our behavior is molded in such a manner that we can only make decisions based on the options presented to us. Whatever decision we make has to be in harmony with our inner sentiment. So, we act as we feel. The entire secret of understanding how emotions determine our choices lies in programmed behavior. The regular practice of introspection, or awareness of your inner self, will reveal to us our automatic response to each situation in life. Through this practice, we will be able to notice that our emotions have physiological reactions. In other words, we live a reactionary life. As we go through our normal daily routines, through introspection, we will notice the different muscle contractions in our body that occur as situations arise. The intensity of the tension will be relevant to the measure of importance associated with the event. The amount of stress experienced when someone is being insulted will most likely be very different from that of being intimidated. Through the practice of introspection, we are able to notice the different levels of tension our bodies put up with as we go through life's experiences. In later lectures, I will expand on the practice of introspection and how through that method, we are able to eradicate unwanted behaviors, such as shyness, fearfulness, aggressiveness, etc., and acquire desirable behaviors such as self-confidence, calmness, dedication, etc. So, through introspection, we will be able to identify the different states of being we change into as we go about our business. What's really important about the acquired information is the realization that our inner condition depends on external circumstances. We've been programmed as such. Our biases greatly influence our predisposition to action. We may automatically manifest unjust attitudes or behaviors toward individuals who have been marginalized in society. For instance, as a dark-complexioned Dominican man was entering Food Town and walking at a normal rate, the Mexican employee, pushing a hand truck with boxes behind the Dominican man, started to slap the boxes, making loud noise as if suggesting for the Dominican man to step away fast. Such behavior would have never occurred if it had been a white person entering the store. Where did that discriminatory behavior originate from? Are we born disfavoring a group while bowing to those we consider superior and maybe equal to us? Also, considering the question of reality, perceiving life with a predetermined mindset encourages rigidity and an inability to be flexible. Now that we've spoken about events as part of our daily routines in terms of bodily changes that occur within and without based on external circumstances, we can also speak about a permanent state of being or chronic negative emotional conditions, such as chronic depression, anxiety, etc. Life's events can cause in us momentary states of negative emotions as well as chronic ones. Haven't you ever seen someone who is always angry, worried, or sad? Whenever any of these conditions occur, our inner as well as our outer body goes through certain changes which carry specific names, such as depression, anxiety, etc. In such cases, we go through life experiencing reality while being in that particular emotional state. So, we are trapped within that state of being. Whether the emotional experience is considered to be positive or negative, the fact remains that the individual under the influence of such an emotional state will make choices that are also influenced by that emotional state. If we wish, we may say that the individual is possessed by an energy. How frequently someone is depressed, anxious, sad, etc. will determine the frequency with which the person is vibrating. These concepts are usually new to many individuals. That's why further elaboration on those concepts is necessary. We all know that the repetition of any skill becomes an internal automatic process. Just think about when you learn how to write words or read sentences. Any of these skills begins by first familiarizing yourself with the subject matter. After a series of repetitions, frequently, you were able to do it as if it were something natural for you. Similarly, from the first time we started to manifest ourselves in the world, we were taught everything through frequent repetitions. So, we learned to speak similarly to those who have taught us how to speak. As we were learning how to speak, we also learned aspects of people's personalities. Once these became internalized, replicating those learned behaviors or language became automatic or natural. Through the process of learning, the worldview of the people from whom you learned is transmitted directly and indirectly to your unconscious self. Now, you and those from whom you've been indoctrinated and those who have been indoctrinated by the same worldview will understand the world similarly. Of course, people will disagree from time to time on certain issues, but all of you will have the same understanding. It will not be like, for instance, someone saying, "Why is it that your perception of reality is based on your feelings?" Most people will not ask you that question. You will hardly hear someone asking you, "Why are you using your intellectual and emotional faculties to your detriment?" I know that further elaboration on this issue will be necessary. Understanding that this work, although free of charge, requires steadfast perseverance and lots of patience in order to convey this sensitive information to the reader. By reading this material, you are beginning to reflect on how you experience reality. You may even get to the point of asking yourself, is it me who is experiencing reality, or have I been taught how to experience reality? It's imperative that examples from different perspectives are given if a clearer understanding of the subject matter is to occur. For instance, whatever event you're experiencing will be greatly influenced by the emotional condition in which you find yourself. If it happens that you become irritated for whatever reason, your normal intellectual and emotional abilities with which you perform tasks will also be affected. In other words, if you have allowed a set of bodily changes known as irritation to take possession of your being, your normal performance will be greatly affected. Now, if the state known as being irritated is chronic or occurs frequently in your body, this state of being irritated becomes normal. The thing is, this person becomes addicted to being irritated. Better yet, this person becomes addicted to the body's chemicals released whenever irritation is experienced. So, this individual will search for situations in which irritable moments, to him or her, will occur. We are talking here about how frequently you are confined to the set of body tensions known as irritation. So, if it is chronic irritation, then you are operating at a frequency known as irritation. So, almost if not all of your life's experiences will occur in a state of irritability. All of these experiences will help us become aware of our body's automatic responses, but that is not a reflection of our true self. To most people, self-knowledge implies the identification of their likes and dislikes, such as their music, sport, food, mate, etc. preferences. It may also imply having an understanding of their personality type or temperament or frequent behavior patterns. Even though psychological researchers, such as behavioral geneticists, provide evidence of individual behavior patterns due to genetics, they also acknowledge that the environment in which an individual lives influences their genes and behavior. Therefore, the options available for the individual's behavior patterns to manifest are implied to be confined to the definition of reality taught. In other words, the experts provide evidence for predisposed behavior patterns due to specific genetic makeup, but the environment within which the individual will manifest his or her behavior was already predefined in the mind of the individual. So, the individual will act based on their indoctrinated perception of reality. Once reality is being defined based on someone else's design and the environment is perceived as a natural validation of that design, the individual will have no reason for doubting their perception of reality. As I said before, it's vital to read this material several times, since the process of repetition will not only help you have a better understanding of the subject matter, but will also activate your natural ability to understand beyond what is written. My purpose for teaching this class is to help you prove for yourself the forces within you, pretending to be you, in control of your thoughts, emotions, and actions. I referred to those forces controlling your thoughts and emotions as some internal forces, because that's how you will have the experience as you progress through your practice of introspection. In reality, these forces are really your own emotions, which have been conditioned to function for the benefits of the dominant culture by confining you within a frequency of bondage, but for which you are unable to realize. Through introspection, or inner self-perception, we are able to indeed confirm that there are automatic responses to situations for which no decision of ours has played a significant role. Although you are able to observe how emotions are manifesting internally, you have doubts about being able to modify the way you feel. For instance, on a regular basis, as you walk by a particular street, you observe the presence of a beggar with young features. Many questions may pop up into your awareness, such as why doesn't he get a job? At this point, your ability to perceive how your thoughts and emotions are manifesting is called introspection. The act of becoming aware of your thoughts and emotions during a particular event of your life is called introspection. The ability to be aware of how your thoughts and emotions manifest within your being, whether or not an event outside of you occurs, is also called introspection. As long as you are awake, introspection can be performed. This will help you identify inner automatic responses that are beyond your will, for which you believe you're responsible. These forces are so strong that they leave you no option to even think that they do not belong to you. For example, someone known as being timid is considered to have a deficiency in their personality. So, timidity manifests itself as the inability to properly guide your emotions during specific situations. In that case, there are forces preventing the individual from properly assessing particular situations. Through the process of introspection, the individual will be able to become aware of the presence of those forces within their physical body. Obviously, it will hardly become possible for the timid individual to become aware of the forces responsible for their timidity during the crisis. What is interesting is that the individual can have identical emotional experiences just by remembering the situation in which the condition known as timidity occurred. Mistakenly, most people would rather forget that instance, but by remembering that scene and through the repeated process of introspection, the forces known as timidity can be dissipated. Further explanation must be given to successfully accomplish that task. Timidity, just like many other psychological disorders, is very noticeable. It's much more subtle when we're referring to those forces that keep us under their dominion. Although we are able to perceive them, we become doubtful of whether or not we are responsible for their impulses. The question remains, how do we know whether these inner forces, known as automatic emotional responses to events or thoughts, aren't of our making? In reality, these forces belong to you. It's just that they are under the dominion of other individuals. We are talking here about those individuals responsible for your indoctrination. These individuals may or may not be directly involved in the process of indoctrinating us to perceive the world through their lenses. Being that this process of indoctrination began to be imposed upon us during the most vulnerable stages of our existence, which is our infancy, by the time we've matured, what we call reality is just the manifestation of our indoctrinated being, within which the dominant culture's perception of reality has been cemented so deeply in our consciousness that we become powerless to even know whether or not we are making the choices we make. Everyone we know and everything to which we are exposed is in favor of that indoctrinated worldview. So, we become lab rats within the world they have created in our minds. The process of indoctrination for the benefit of a few, but to the detriment of our lives, began long ago. The condition of slavery has left its elusive mark in our consciousness. Reality has to be interpreted in such a way that becoming aware of the acceptance of playing a subordinate role in society hardly ever comes to mind. We have normalized psychological assaults. We become used to viewing psychopathic behavior as normal. As you can see, it requires patience and a tough mind to understand what's happening to us, how to liberate ourselves from their emotional programs, and reclaim our true identity. In this way, these individuals will lose their psychological power over us. Even though I have already written much more for this lecture, I believe that giving the reader the necessary time to ponder upon this information will be more beneficial than adding to that information. Thanks, fearless beings, and until next time. Goodbye.